Awesome. Okay, so before we talk about design, I want to talk about people. So, not the personas, not the journeys, but real people. So, the mother trying to load an app while her network flickers, the student refreshing a result page at midnight on free data hours, the small business owner navigating digital forms written in a language not fully their own, the grandparent trying to pay a bill on a device they barely even trust. And so I'll start today with one simple question. When was the last time your design truly softened someone's struggle? Because while we often obsess over speed, efficiency, scale, what stays with people is something much quieter. A moment of relief, a touch of understanding, a sense that the product actually saw them. So, in emerging markets such as South Africa, soft UX isn't just nice to have. It's what makes digital access possible because we're designing for connectivity gaps where retry buttons aren't just functional, they give people confidence that they haven't been forgotten. Emerging digital adoption, when first-time users deserve flows that feel forgiving, not intimidating. Multi-language realities where simple language is not oversimplifying or talking down, it's opening doors. And then cultural diversity, where different ways of reading, understanding, and building trust all deserve respect and consideration. When we soften UX here, we aren't just making products better, we're making technology more belonging. And that belonging, that's what makes people stay. So UX isn't just interface design, it's interpersonal design. Sure, we design buttons, modals, and flows, but those are just basically vehicles. What we're really designing is experience and context. So apparently 95% of decisions are made unconsciously. So even the most logical flows can break under emotional weight. So soft UX means adapting for stress and anticipating the stress, designing for trust, creating clarity when clarity is hard to find. In many South African teams, UX still gets confused with making the screens look nice. But soft UX goes a bit more deeper than the surface beauty. It's making sure someone on limited mobile data can still complete a task without frustration. It's designing for shared devices where privacy matters because multiple family members share one account. It's simply simplifying technical language for first-time online users. It's thinking about economic realities where failed transactions are just not just annoying, they're very costly. It's reducing the fear some users feel when interacting with formal digital systems for the first time. Designing great UX doesn't start with assumptions, it starts with listening. Not we made this for you, but we built this for you. So an example of this is I work for company Loop. So they do your Checker 60 drivers, your Nando's, your local choice, and also your Woolies Dash. So I was tasked to work on the Checker 60 delivery system called Loop, where you can actually check the orders going in and out. So the drivers had an app where they would actually trace where they need to go and check the orders that they need to fulfill. So literally one day I went to Nando's where the drivers were busy with, and I actually wanted to go on the motorbikes with them, but apparently it was not allowed. I really wanted to get into the user experience, but apparently I couldn't. So I sat with them. Um, at Nando's. So while they waited for the next orders or for the next route, I basically sat with them and I talked and I asked about the experience that they have on the road and the things that they faced. And for example, even like the smallest thing, they said that, oh my gosh, I wish the buttons were a bit bigger because, I'm very stressed and I need to stop and then try press these buttons and things like that. So we basically made the buttons much more bigger for them. So just like a simple example. So we really made them part of the experience, like understanding exactly what they're going through and the needs that they will have. So we're building it together, not just me as a designer sitting at my desk and trying to figure out what they could possibly need. I actually went out there to understand the real life experiences that they go through. So we're taught to remove friction, to make things seamless, fast, effortless. But friction isn't always a flaw. Sometimes friction is a design choice, it's a signal, a safeguard, a moment to breathe. But friction isn't always a flaw. Sometimes friction is a design choice. It's a signal. Oh, sorry. Just missed that point there. So think of it as like a speed bump when you think of friction. It's not there to annoy you, it's there to actually protect you. So here are a few examples of some healthy friction. So, an "are you sure" pop up before deleting important data. I mean, even company data. You don't want to be playing around and deleting things that you shouldn't. So, make sure at least that there's a pop up that lets you know that, listen, you're about to make this big decision. Are you okay with it? A gentle reminder before posting a public comment or a review, a step that explains what happens next before confirming a legal or a medical form. These aren't inconvenience, they're moments of respect. So, according to Nielsen Group, error messages written with clarity and empathy reduce failure by 50% and increase satisfaction by 34%. So, yes, friction can be a bit frustrating, but sometimes it's the exact thing that makes someone feel safe, reassured, and human. And that's even more important when users aren't sitting at a desk with time and attention to spare. So let's talk about designing for the real world next. So, as designers, we often design in ideal conditions. We have fast Wi Fi, full attention where it's your music playing and you're all in your focus mode, new devices, and a calm environment. But real users in South Africa live in chaotic, imperfect realities sometimes. So, for example, a mom ordering meds with their child, their toddler, trying to calm them down, a student on slow internet looking for housing, a pensioner trying to navigate an app on an older, low contrast phone, a non native speaker passing to an unclear error messages, trying to figure out what they actually mean. These people are distracted, stressed, tired, and overwhelmed. So, soft UX means we acknowledge that we need to cater for all these different scenarios of all these users. So, what do? We meet people where they are to help them out with all these frustrations they might be having while using one of your interfaces. So, have large tap targets, the same as the checker 60 example. Offer friendly, supportive tone. Let them undo mistakes without blame. And don't punish them for being interrupted. So, we don't always know the full context, but we can design as if someone is navigating our product on their hardest day. And also, the good thing about this, we do not have to do this alone because soft UX isn't one person's job, it's everyone's mindset. So here's what that can look like in the workplace. So engineers building in error messages instead of hard stops. PMs giving time for emotional touch points, not just features. Testers checking for tone and not just function. A good UX team doesn't just hand off designs, they share context. They invite feedback from QA, marketing, and support because everyone touches these user experiences. So, for example, where I work at BMW, we create a community meetups with 80 plus UI enthusiasts because building soft UX means building internal empathy too. So, soft UX is a cultural thing, it's cultivated through storytelling, internal demos, user videos, shared rituals, and listening sessions. And continuing on the theme of empathy, one of the most overlooked skills is balancing priorities with empathy, especially when you're under the pressure to deliver very fast. So let's be honest, soft UX is not always easy to prioritize. We live in a world of deadlines, roadmaps, and MVPs. Sometimes done trumps thoughtful. Sometimes fast overrides feels right. Sometimes you're asked to squeeze a complex problem with a 2 week sprint. But even when speed is king, we can still sneak kindness into the process because soft UX is not about perfection, it's about presence. So, some examples, kind of like in the South African context, is we just need to ship something now, which means let's de-risk the critical pain points for users inside MVP, especially for those on limited data or older devices. The user will figure it out. So every point of confusion costs trust, support calls, or lost conversions. And in prepaid data markets, it can cost someone money they can't afford to waste. We don't have time for polish. Let's focus on safety nets, clear errors, supportive copy, simple next two steps that help first time or low literacy users. So MVP habits that we can look at is helpful defaults instead of blank fields, clear microcopy for confusing actions, confirmation messages that actually reassure, some undo options, build for slow internet and intermediate connectivity. Sometimes you won't always win every conversation, but plant seeds, normalize soft UX inside the MVP culture, and watch it grow. But what if you're the only one raising these questions? What if you don't have a UX team? So that brings me to the next point. So we already know that not every company has a UX team. Not every product has a designer attached to it, but every product can still be more human. So if you're a founder, developer, marketer, or support agent, you can still bring soft UX into the room because UX is not just a title, it's a practice. So real examples could be like a freelance developer asking, does my form reassure users if something fails? Startup founders could look at writing onboarding emails that actually make the users feel welcomed. MVP devs adding kind defaults and gentle copy. Marketers can also help in clarifying call to actions. Project managers writing tickets that actually include what is the user's emotional state at this point. So other simple habits to get this going is to watch a real person try your product, sit on support calls, and this is definitely a really great idea, I feel. So this is something that I also did at NetFlorist, is I also worked with the support team to understand the things that they might be going through and how UX could help them. Another one is also read competitor reviews, test flows with someone unfamiliar, and also one of my favorite is Reddit. I love going onto Reddit and reading people's reviews on other products and seeing where they get a lot of frustration. So soft UX starts when someone in the room simply asks, how will this feel for the person on the other side? And as our tools get smarter, especially with AI, our attention to humanity will matter more than ever. So the future of UX isn't mechanical, it's mindful. AI is here. It's generating wireframes, it's testing flows, it's drafting copy for us. So according to McKinsey, up to 70% of design activities could eventually be automated. But automation doesn't equal connection. Efficiency doesn't guarantee care. So human gaps AI still struggles with is chatbots may answer, but do they actually reassure? AI layouts might be functional, but do they feel warm? Funnels may convert, but do they build loyalty? So AI will handle the heavy lifting, but we need to remember that soul is still handcrafted. We still need designers asking, where will they feel vulnerable? Writers knowing how and when to soften, researchers seeing messy stories behind clean data, and product people designing for moments AI actually can't predict. So soft UX isn't just a luxury, it's the safety net. because the real empathy doesn't come from algorithms, it comes from the people who shape what those algorithms serve. In a world being rapidly automated, feeling is a new frontier. Because when someone uses your product, they won't remember your tool set, they'll remember how you made them feel. So, soft UX is not loud, it's not always celebrated, but in South Africa, it's often the difference between technology we tolerate and technology we trust enough to rely on every day. It's in the unseen moments, the quiet grace built into stressful days, the message that says you're not alone here, the soft hand on someone's shoulder, even though you'll never ever meet. In this work, we don't just ship the products, we ship relief, dignity, belonging, and hope. And that is not a small thing. So, as you go back to your roadmaps, your backlogs, and deadlines, carry this. Where can we soften the edges? Because that's where interfaces become safety nets, products become partnerships, and transactions become trust. And that is where the human side of soft UX will always live. Thank you.
Sure. Wow. That part where you said tolerate technology and technology we trust. That just those words. Thank you. So that was awesome. That was amazing. That was very impactful. Um, yeah, that was awesome. Lots of amazing and hand clapping in the comments. Um, I think I'm just gonna ask everyone if there's any questions for Salama. Um, yeah, that was awesome.
Thank you so much.
I mean, I wanna do oh, I wanna say that there's in it was I think you said your timing was at what 16, 17 minutes, but there was
Yes.
so much to digest
Yeah.
um, in relation to how um, how we as practitioners, I guess, how we navigate through the space, but how impactful and the decisions we make intentionally and unintentionally, impact the people that we're creating and crafting for. How we educate and help them
Yeah,
um, through this a soft approach
definitely.
when we're so constantly focused on the hard and fast. Um, Mornay said, "Well done on an eloquent, well versed, and thought out presentation." Um, I mean, there's just lots of good, great comments and praise. Um, I'm just going to ask everyone again if there's any. I see there's a question
Yes, man.
again. How do you communicate the findings from your time with the support staff to the teams? Often the rest of the team feels like they don't have time for us to just present findings.
So on my side, honestly, I make sure that it's all about the culture. So as I said, currently where I work at BMW, so I work at BMW as a UX designer and then also at She Can Do as a program manager. But we definitely cultivate an environment, and I guess this also comes from the the culture that your company creates. But basically, for example, everyone who joins has to do a mandatory UX course. It's like a little day course where they just basically explain UX and the importance of it and things like that. So everyone already comes in understanding the importance of UX and why we all have to follow these design processes and things like that. And then also, as I said, we do have UI community meetups where a lot of UI enthusiasts, around 80 and 100, depending on the day, come through and we share all our thoughts on UX stuff. So the company has kind of already cultivated that process of everyone needs to understand UX, needs to understand the process, and not just how it helps with profits, but also how it makes things easy for users. So in terms of that, when that culture is set, it's so much more easier to go in to be like, look, this is the support tickets that we've been receiving, and these are the issues that the users have been going through. We need to have a workshop and sit down and discuss. So yes, I'm not going to lie, it's definitely easier when you do have the backup of the culture of the company. Um, but if you don't have that, I always say you need to put your foot down as a UX designer. I know we're all empathetic as designers. I think that's one of the tool sets that we have. And then sometimes it's also kind of like, oh, I don't want to step on people's toes, or um, I don't want to say the wrong thing. All comes with that empathy package in a way. But yeah, sometimes you also need to be a bit harder, and you need to put your foot down, and you need to be like, look, this needs to be discussed. And these are the implications of us not following these things. I hope that
Thank
answers.
you.
Yeah.
Um, we've got one more, and then we'll probably jump into the next session only because we're a bit tight on time. So the next question is, how do you get clients from a different generation to understand your UX designs? We had a project where the client was older and his website was outdated, but he didn't want to modernize. How would you work around that?
Ooh, so one thing I've noticed a lot of the times is us UX designers tend to use a lot of heavy UX terms. So even with prototyping, we'll be like, we need to show you this prototype, or we need to show you this wireframe and things like that. A lot of people actually don't understand those terms. So I think what helps also first is realizing that not everyone understands UX terms, and you need to make sure it's as simple as possible. Using words as such as like, let me show you how we envision your website to be, or not like this is a prototype or this is a wireframe, or so just use colloquial language so that your client actually understands the whole process. I've definitely noticed that she can do where we actually also work with the client to go through things. If the girls use all these UX terms, the client gets a bit flustered, but as soon as they just use normal things, they feel calmer. Also, building a relationship with your client, I think is very important as I would say a business person or a freelancer of some sorts. You definitely need to build a relationship with your client, understand their vision and goal, and really dive into the passion that they have. Um, so, for example, if they don't understand the website that you're creating for them, you can basically be like, okay, look, we understand this is your goal, this is your passion, this is where we see it going, and this would be really amazing if the website looks this way and functions this way, and also make sure that they're part of the process. So don't just go and be like, look, this is what you need to do. Also be like, look, what are the ideas you have? I think that also makes them very open to the process and to understand your designs that you come with and things like that. And also, of course, benefits. I mean, you need to show them and make them understand the benefits that come with something that's outdated. But also sometimes you just get clients who just don't want to change, which is also very interesting. But yeah, I'd say definitely build that relationship, that connection with the client. I feel like a lot of the times with the older clients that I've worked with, when it's a good relationship with them, they're very more open to things. So I think maybe don't just take it as a job, as I need to get paid and get this going, but also connect with your clients too.
Mama, thank you so much for that. Um, really appreciate the feedback. What I would urge everyone is to, I've dropped Salama's LinkedIn in the chat. Connect with her, reach out to her. You're doing great work. And yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, no problem. Thank you, guys.